So I've been paying attention to chatter on social media about Bill C21 that came out in the Canadian Parliament yesterday. There's been a lot of chatter about them banning airsoft guns, and the general consensus just seems to be that the government's stupid, and they're just far-reaching for no good reason whatsoever. But in my opinion, that's just not the case. And really it all boils down to certain people, certain groups in this country and abroad, and not keeping with the good practices and principles of operational security. In this day of social media, there's a lot of people that like to show off on the internet. It's general modern human nature to be kind of braggadocious about shit and like to show off what we have, what we can do, yada yada yada. But what I think this airsoft segment of Bill C21 all boils down to is the fact that militias are illegal in Canada, as well as any kind of like mixed unit tactic military training is also illegal. So what let's just say militia groups, all right? There's a big one from the States that are operating in Canada, although they're a militia group in the States, but they don't call themselves a militia group up here. Anyway, they have been very public over the years about using airsoft as a means of training. Like on social media, these guys, the same guys, they posted videos of, them out shooting at the range, and I'm sure they have, I don't follow too closely, but I'm sure they have more about, their airsoft training and everything. And the point that I really want to make here is people are watching, particularly like Twitter. The gun lobby, or the anti-gun lobby, is always watching the gun lobby and its supporters and the gun owners. They're always watching. They're working with the government. They get their funding from, their counterparts on the other side of the border who are working towards more like stricter gun control in the States, which we're seeing with HR 127 down there. The point is that you need to keep OPSEC in mind when you're doing things online. You'll never see me post pictures of things that I don't want anyone to know about. I think maybe on my Instagram I have a picture of one rifle. That's my bolt action 308. You won't see anything else I have online. You won't see what food I have stored. You won't see any of my shit online. I try my best to keep my location secret. It's just bad security policy to be doing it. So that brings us back to the gun control thing. I think, and this is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. You might feel differently. But I think the idea that they have in banning airsoft guns and essentially ending the airsoft community is that they want to take away Canadians' ability to train in military-style tactics and, maybe like CQB-type scenarios. Well, it's obviously not as, good as simunition or something like that the military actually uses. From their perspective, this can be used as military-style training because we have militia-style groups openly using this kind of activity as unit tactic training. That's my opinion of what's going on here with that. As far as the buyback program, frankly, I think that the buyback is optional because they obviously don't have the money to buy everyone's guns. Nor do I think they want to spend the money to buy everyone's guns. What I think is going to happen is, okay, they're going to give you the option, the grandfathering option, the option to keep your prohibited weapons. But you have to register them. Now, really, it was only the AR-15 proper that was considered a restricted firearm in this country prior to the order in council on May 1st. For those who don't know, a restricted class firearm in Canada has to be registered. All other firearms, non-restricted, were not registered. So your Robertson XCRs, Tavors, Scorpions, that kind of thing, those were non-restricted. They were non-registered. But same with like the M14, etc., CZ58, etc., etc. So they have no clue, really, who owns those rifles. So in offering the optional buyback, you have to tell them what you have if you're not going to take the buyback, which is just as effective as a registry. So instead of making you buy back all those guns, which a forced buyback, more people are likely to be non-compliant, whereas other people will be like, no, well, I'm going to keep my guns in hopes that, another government gets elected down the road and then I'll be able to use them again. Well, now, if you comply with that, they're going to have a list of all of these guns and who has them. And then you can bet your ass that later on down the road, they're going to say, oh, well, gun violence hasn't changed. We need to take all these guns. And they're going to know exactly what you got, how many you got, where you got them stored, and you're going to get a knock on the door, and they're going to take them from you. And that's my opinion on what's going on here. Other than that, I mean, none of it was really surprising. I just think they're posturing for an election. I mean, the Conservatives have a very weak leader. So they're going to probably, by the sounds of it, have another election by the summertime and push to get a majority government. And, I mean, they're using this as election material. And the fact that we now have socialist government in the U.S. who's also pushing a similar kind of gun control bill. They're emboldened by that. We're basically a socialist North America now. So, I mean, you can expect things to get a whole lot worse. A whole lot worse. I mean, it's gone too far. This country's gone. It's 10 times harder to change a policy back than it is to enact the policy in the first place. And they've changed so many things about this country in the last 5 years that I just don't see how things will ever go back with a political solution. I'm not advocating for violence. I don't want there to be violence. But no matter which way I look, I see violence. And the majority of the violence that I see is going to come from this government on the people. Hope y'all have a good night.